Okay, so we're calling to order the Finance Committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion to, hopefully, we've all had a chance to review the minutes from October 17th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. This was first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, so the minutes from October 17th are approved. At this point, we're going to get a briefing item. We have some briefing items. Finance and fuel hedging reports are going to be brought to us today. Are you going to report out on that, Andy?
No, so the finance and fuel hedging reports will be brought to the full board next week.
So
due
because
to the timing of the committee meetings with the Thanksgiving holiday, we're a week earlier than we typically are. So the month of October finance has not closed until today. So we'll have those reports next week.
I see. And Andy mentioned that to me before the meeting, but I was not fully. Didn't internalize it. The hedging piece, I wasn't sure about the hedging piece. But okay, so there are action items on our agenda, and our fifth item is a proposed resolution to approve a revision to our property and liability coverage budgeting aspect. So I'd like to turn the microphone over to Andy and Julie.
Great, thank you. We have two items for consideration today. One is a modification to our 2023 liability policy and coverages, and the second is preparation for our 2024. They actually start in December, so we're at the end of our 2023 agreement, and we're beginning on December 1st our 2024 agreement. In the 2023 agreement, the first item for action is to increase essentially the amount allowable under approval of the board by $500,000. This is a direct result of claims paid. So we have premiums that we pay on a regular basis, but we also are self-insured to a certain extent. So as claims are closed, we then pay those claims. The reason for the increase is essentially our insurance provider, OTRP, the Ohio Transit Risk Pool, is relatively new to the organization, and they've been very aggressive at closing old claims. So you'll notice, as we look at the 2023 modification request, it's much higher than was predicted in terms of the amount of claims closed and the amount of claims paid. When we look ahead to 2024, it moderates back close to the projection in 2023. So this is essentially just a timing issue of clearing the deck of old claims. We need the authority of the board in order to exceed the amount that was initially planned at the beginning of 23.
So OTRP, they're relatively new. How new are they, and who do they replace?
They're new to us just within the last few years, but they've been around for a very long time.
I know the organization has, but
yes.
So, but they have a more aggressive claims closing procedures than our predecessors?
When they inherited our book of business, there were a lot of open claims, and they were intentional about being aggressive at closing all of those old claims, and that's why we kind of have a bump, if you will, in claims expense for 2023.
So, yes.
So going back to past fiscal years, did we have accounting surpluses tied to this? Are we essentially just balancing those out now, or is this an unanticipated
We are balancing out the old claims.
Okay. So really we're net long-term.
Yes.
In accordance with projections. It's just swallowing the
You're correct.
big hump right
You're
now.
absolutely correct.
So the rationale in closing the claims expeditiously, like, why?
That's a good question. Julie might be able to help answer that question. My understanding is that some of these have lingered for years, and their intent is to define those liabilities, close them, and then take them off the books and move on.
Julie, the microphone's yours.
Yeah, that is, I agree with Andy on that. I also think that the amount that they were given, the $120,000 per quarter, was a little low just based on the outstanding claims that we had, plus activity that's occurred this year that we've settled. So they're projecting $480 for next year as well, and we're going to go with that amount. But they were able to close some claims that have been lingering out there. So
It's a lot
we had
cleaner.
480 budgeted for the year, and we've got, about 173,000 for the first and second quarter. And then, this third quarter, we have, they were able to close about $222,000 worth of claims. And we still have the fourth quarter invoice, that we're anticipating.
Yeah.
That would end on November 30th.
So-
This would kind of chew up the remaining third quarter and all of the fourth quarter.
So generally speaking, personally, I feel like it's a good idea to be pretty good about closing out our reserves, right? But I'm just asking, Julie, like the rationale. What rationale do they provide to be more aggressive in closing down the claims, and why did our predecessor not act aggressively in closing claims?
I mean,
Did they?
John?
Yeah, so they do move with a model that closes claims a lot faster. They engage claimants earlier in the process than maybe we otherwise would in years past. Being self-insured, right? Different philosophies, right? Do you litigate more? Do you settle early?
Right.
They have a model where for all of their pool of business with all that risk pooled, settle the claims quicker. You might pay more claims and pay more claims faster like this situation, but for the target being overall cost reduction for everything that goes into managing a claim.
Okay, that sounds good. Are there additional questions on this item? Okay, so it's before us because we have to increase the funding for that. So I'll entertain that motion is the action item. So we have to entertain a motion to increase the funding for the overage. Is there any? I'll put forward the motion. Is there a second?
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Where's the money coming from? It's an additional 500,000.
It's our general operating.
Okay, Mr. Trenton, seconds.
Reflected on the financials next month.
When they're actually paid, yes.
So
we're
future,
just approving the ability to spend an additional 500 in the future. It'll roll.
Well, in the last quarter of 2023.
Yeah,
So,
it'll be between now and the end of the year.
correct.
So either next month or in December.
So we won't see a lump sum of 500,000.
Correct. And
We can see.
the 500,000 is a not to exceed. As Julie mentioned, we're still waiting for some of the claims to process through in the last quarter. We're making an estimate that it's going to stay under 500,000. If it were to go over that, we would have to come back to you all.
Yeah.
okay,
Blake,
yeah.
you're pensive.
I just want to make sure when we look at the end of the year financials and that kind of thing, we don't lose $500,000 here, but we don't see it and we think we perform better. That's all I was thinking. It's not that big of a question.
Okay. So the motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, moving down, the next item.
Yep. And the next is our program for the 2023/2024 year, which begins December 1 of 23. You can see in your packet, the recommendation is a cost not to exceed $1.8 million, slight increase over last year. And when you look at the estimate for claims as well, they've returned that $120,000 per quarter claim expense. And again, happy to entertain any questions on the 24 renewal from OTRP.
Do you have D&O insurance, by the way?
We do.
Okay. Is it in one of these?
I don't believe it's in this package.
This one includes the public officials liability.
Directors and officers insurance.
Not in this package.
Yeah.
Not in this package.
Okay. I was really just asking in general.
Yes.
To make sure that
We
can
do.
go to jail.
Yes, we do.
It looks like this one in particular includes the general liability, auto liability, the public officials liability, cyber, crime, but not the, what we call the executive risk package or the directors and officers coverage. And employment-related practices is not in this.
You're correct.
So, okay. So thanks for laying it out so clearly. I'll put forth a motion to approve.
Just one question about the cyber liability, because I know that is something that continues to risk factor or amount of damages incurred, that one payouts?
Yeah, well, I'd have to look at the policy to answer that question. I can provide that to you.
Cyber, like there are about 17 different triggers at this point to activate most cyber policies. It used to be just a decade ago there were about 4 triggers, but now the policies are much more comprehensive to pick up something like hypotheticals, like a phishing or these other things. Now we don't have the policies in front of us to talk about it, but I do feel pretty confident that a lot of those exposures are addressed.
And we'll send those out to the entire board.
Okay.
So that you see them.
Do you customarily do that or not? The policies.
But
Okay.
we're happy to.
Okay.
I'm okay with just a
Yeah, I'll send
Just
it
a
to you.
verbal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if we.
Yeah, usually, at one point in time, one of the meetings, Pat will get up and he'll talk about what those triggers are and the dollar amounts and whatnot.
Okay.
So we normally, once a year, update the board, but we can send it out. It's not a problem.
I think, I mean, to your point, like the DNO, it'd be nice to know about the executive risk piece and just to have a sense, that really covers us, right, in our activities.
As long as you have it, I'm good. I
Yeah.
don't know the details of
Yeah.
it, but I'm just curious, because I was seeing all these other ones, and I was like, oh, where does it fall in all this?
Yeah, what's the timing on that policy? Is it the same time of year or different time of year?
I don't know, but I don't know that reaches to the
Not critical.
board level.
It's okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But we'll share that.
Okay, well, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so I put forth a motion already. Is there a second for that motion we can discuss after the second?
Second.
Pete seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you for putting that together. Andy, that's all for us. It's a short Finance Committee meeting today. Are there any other new business items that people want to bring before the Finance Committee? Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Great, let's roll right into planning
Blake.
and ops. Welcome again, everybody, today. We got a few briefing items, a few action items, some that probably are worthy of a few questions and conversation. So we said the pledge, and we're rolling right through, so let's just keep moving. Planning and Ops Committee minutes from October. Trust you've all had a chance to review. Any questions, concerns, adjustments? All right, then I'll move that we approve the Planning and Ops Committee minutes from October. Can I get a second? Probably moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, left, abstentions? Great. So committee minutes are approved. John, you want to take it away with some good news?
I sure do. Thank you, sir. Good morning, all. We'll start our good news report, as always, with great work done by our employees, our most recent employees of the month. Adrian, please.
Good morning. Starting off with Derek Flint. Most of you remember, if you're at the board meeting last month, he received the CEO Star Award for helping a toddler that was roaming along the street as he was driving his bus. He's a Queensgate operator, so we're really proud of the work our operators continue to do to serve the public, and in this instance, for the safety of a child. Next, we have Access or Bond Hill operator Raphael Davis. And Raphael's being recognized for his great attitude and his work quality. He often works overtime shifts when needed and is considered a team player. We have Queensgate Maintenance, Kevin Bossman. Kevin received a call, what we call a roll call, to go get a bus that was leaking coolant. He went out to retrieve the bus and made sure other passengers got transferred okay. And he found an unresponsive passenger on the bus and called paramedics. And the paramedics were able to come out and, as a result, get the individual the treatment that they needed for whatever the medical issue they were suffering from. So, again, our employees continue to be of great service to the public, and we appreciate them for that. Next, we have Jacob Sparks, who is Bond Hill Maintenance. And Jacob is being recognized for his high quality of work and the pride he takes in the work that he does. He's always thinking of the safety of the passengers and understands the needs of the customers. So again, congratulations. Finally, we have Leadership Employee of the Month, Katrina Biggers. Katrina is a clerk with our operations division. She performs her responsibilities beyond expectation and is always willing to go above and beyond, take the extra mile. She's always very professional and provides great customer service to the employees. And then Administrative Employee of the Month, Angela Mead. Angela is in our procurement department and is being recognized for, she has helped to create templates for project meetings, professional development sessions regarding meeting facilitation, and she's received much positive feedback for the great work she's done from her peers and colleagues. So congratulations to the September Silver Wheel Award winners.
Thank you, Adrian. We also want to extend fond wishes on a well-deserved and happy retirement to Administrative Assistant Teresa Presley. Teresa served the organization for 24 years in a number of roles across several departments, most recently in the Finance and Accounting Department. She's also worked with the Risk Management team, Legal Affairs years ago. What a lot of us will remember about Teresa is her constant positive energy. If you saw Teresa in the hallway, always a kind word to say, always the person that you wanted to run into if you needed a pick-me-up. That was certainly Teresa, a very special person who had a very special time here at Metro. So best wishes on a well-deserved retirement for Teresa. It's also our pleasure to recognize Senior Vice President of External Affairs, Brandy Jones, on being selected by the Cincinnati chapter of the Public Relations Society of America as a 2023 Werner Vanderhaar Bogart Award recipient. This is the highest honor offered by the local chapter of the PRSA. It is equivalent to and considered a Lifetime Achievement Award. A Lifetime Achievement Award. The recipient is being recognized for contributions in 4 key areas. This is Brandy through and through. Her contributions to the community, the chapter where she's been a past president, her profession, she is a credit to her profession, and the PRSA at large. Brandy, you are a pillar and servant of the community. Our heartiest congrats on the award, and now that you've got the Lifetime Achievement Award, we're looking forward to your second act. We'll see what's next. Congratulations.
Put me on the spot. Just thank you all. It continues to be a joy leading the communication efforts here at Metro. And, the team here is so outstanding. They give me so much content to talk about. So it really makes my job easy. And I appreciate the accolades from each of you and recognition of this honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Rod?
Of course.
The unresponsive passing. I'm just curious how the timing of that. So there's this crew, a guy comes out to change the buses. He only knew the unresponsive passenger because he got on there to change them out. Otherwise, the driver thought the passenger was asleep. I'm just curious how that would. I mean, that's when I'm thinking about that. I'm like, I'm glad that happened.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have all the details, but yeah, the driver thought the passenger. And as they transferred the passengers off, he wasn't moving or leaving, so then, yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
See your wheels spin.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Also in the news, this past month, Cincinnati City Council passed a resolution encouraging the state of Ohio's General Assembly to increase the penalties for those who assault transit system workers, not only regionally, but throughout the state of Ohio. A big thank you goes to Councilwoman Parks and certainly Board Member Sonia Taylor for their work on this. You see pictured with Darrell Haley, leaders of our local ATU. Also want to recognize Troy Miller for his years of advocacy on this matter here as well, and did a lot of work to help push this over the finish line. We're very much looking forward to next steps and some tractions on the state level on this item. Thank you again to all involved, and thank you again to City Council for taking this step. With that, I'll welcome the Lifetime Achievement Award recipient up to the podium. We're going to call you that for a
Brandon,
little
do
while.
they add your name to the end of that award? Four names is fine, right?
We'll figure something out. Brandy's got a lot of exciting news, as always, to share with the board.
Well, I'm in great company with our COO C-Suite Award winner here, so great company there. So we have a lot going on with new services, as you all know, and we were so grateful that Representative Denson joined Durrell and a few of our staff members recently to do a ride-along on one of our new Metro Now routes. An update, just this week, we also had a ride-along with Senator Brown's Chief of Staff here, Joyce. And she also did a ride-along. So we're very grateful to our elected officials for their interest in what we're doing here at Metro and also checking out our new service. Our outreach and activity at our universities continue, and last month, we joined up with UC's international student population to help them discover everywhere they can go using Metro and just how easy it is. So we did a travel training trip where we picked them up at the university, took them on a ride downtown to Grater's Ice Cream, treated them to ice cream, so there was definitely a tasty treat at the end of that experience. They had an opportunity to just learn how to use the app, how to catch the bus, how to request getting off, how to stand at stops, and any other questions they may have about how to navigate our system using the Metro service. And so they had such a great experience that the university asked us to come back and do another one. So we're looking to continue that partnership and also expand this program at other local colleges as well. Today, hopefully you all took the bus to the polls and helped us spread the word. We are offering free rides all day on the Metro and on the Access Paratransit service so that anyone who needs to access, and the Metro Now. So anyone who needs to access their polling location can utilize any of these services to get to those locations. Metro is very proud of the role we play in removing transportation as a barrier for individuals in our community to exercise their civic right. Saluting our veterans. This week, we will end it with Veterans Day, and as a token of our thank you, any veteran or active duty military personnel who show a military ID or proof of veteran status will be allowed to ride our service free, and this is on the Metro and the Access Paratransit service. This is our way of saying thank you on that day, which will be, there's a typo here. We're actually observing it on November 10th, Friday, November 10th, so excuse that typo. And also, all year long, we are inviting our veterans to partake in the MVP program, which is the Metro Veterans Program, where they can sign up to ride for half fare every day. And so information about that program is available on our website. So please help us spread the news to any veterans you may know so that they can take advantage of half price fare every day to get to doctor's appointments, jobs, or wherever else they may choose to travel. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. We continue to engage the local business community to shine a spotlight on some more recent efforts. We have John Edmondson, Senior Director of Procurement. John.
That's a hard act to follow, all those award winners. For the record, when I was 6, I won a soccer participation trophy. On October 19th, we hosted a Meet the Primes event with local large businesses and local small businesses to kind of help prime contractors hook up with interested and available subcontractors who are doing great work in our community. We had prime contractors like Messer, Turner, AECOM, Graybach, Pruce, and Jostin. They all set up booths to exchange information on the work that they're doing, to go over some upcoming projects that they have, and then to communicate with local small businesses that they could subcontract with. We also hosted a Build Your Business battle, where we allowed local small businesses to get up and basically give a 3-minute elevator pitch for why they are going to be a wonderful small business partner to subcontract with. We had 5 businesses compete in that event. And our judges from ODOT and Turner and Messer elected Barb Smith from Journey Steelers having the best pitch. I apologize I didn't get a picture of us giving Barb her gigantic Metro swag bag full of awesome Metro gear that she's going to flash all over town for us. So that's awesome. But we had a great event, great opportunity to meet a lot of wonderful large and small companies here in the Hamilton County region. And we look forward to the next event coming up in December.
Thank you, John. Mr. Chair, that's the news. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do want to note that procurement team has won recent awards as well. Hard to find a department that hasn't around here these days, which is such a good thing. All right, we got some action items to take. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, action items. The safety plan is an action item, not just a briefing. But before we get to that, the ridership report did come in. I saw it early this morning.
Yes.
It was like Christmas Day with fabulous numbers throughout.
No pressure. All right.
It's Christmas like at your house. His kids get spreadsheets. Spreadsheets for everybody, and abacuses plenty. It was good to see, though.
And along those lines, just a quick shout out. Thank you to the accounting folks who got us the numbers we needed so we could get this to you late yesterday afternoon / early this morning. So thank you for all of that. We'll jump right into it. So October 2023, October generally, historically is a great month for us. It's a month with 31 days. There aren't any holidays in there, so we're running full service pretty much the whole month. So October ridership usually looks really good. This year is no different. So the ridership for October on the entire system, fixed route system, was 1.219 million rides. Of course, the bulk of those took place on our local service, with 30,000 of those rides coming on our express and commuter routes. So year to date, Metro's at 10.8 million rides. That's 7.7% ahead of the budget and 33% higher than this time last year, which is excellent. The next slide has the 4-year comparison, and just wanted to point out that I did double check the APTA ridership national averages. So as of last week, the national average was 81% ridership compared to pre-COVID, and SORTA is at 118% pre-COVID ridership, so leading the nation there. So ridership by day type, 47,000 on weekdays, 23,000 on Saturdays, and 18,000 on Sundays. And again, we just spoke that October was the highest month so far since COVID. Even though the day types are slightly down on average, there are more days in a month, less holidays and things like that. So the passengers per hour on local service was 20 even. That's 4.1 higher than the KPI. And cost recovery was 12%, or 2 percentage points higher than KPI. Express productivity is slightly up from the previous month, coming at 7.8 passengers per trip. That's off of the budgeted KPI by 3.6. And cost recovery for commuter and express routes was 24.8%, or 6.8 percentage points above the KPI. And OTP was slightly up this month. Local service up to 74%. That's up from 72 in September. And express was up to 72.5%. That's up from 71% in September. Missed trips for the month of October were down compared to the previous month. In the month of October, there were 1,135 missed trips, and Metro operated 98.4% of all scheduled fixed route trips. And the next slide just shows the number of missed trips by day of the month. And the spike that you saw was actually a Wednesday, which on the next slide, this one here shows you the number of missed trips averaged by day of the week. It used to be that Sundays and Fridays were always the highest. This month, or October that is, Wednesdays and Fridays were actually the highest. And moving on to Metro Now. So great things happening at Metro Now. We continue to build our ridership. We surpassed the 4,000 ride mark in the month of October, and we are still maintaining a 97% on-time performance rates.
On the Metro Now, do we know how many of those are, which zone is it about half and half, or is it one of them is driving?
I believe the Coleraine zone is slightly higher than the Springdale zone. We can break that out. We just kind of were a little short on time.
No, that's fine. I just, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And this slide just shows the ridership by day type. So obviously weekends are still the highest. Saturdays have leveled off just a little bit, and Sundays are starting to approach the same level as Sundays. I'm sorry. The other way around. Sorry. Thank you. And moving on to paratransit, Access provided 16,225 rides in the month of October. That's 5.3% above the budgeted number. 15,000 of those rides took place weekdays, 550 Saturdays, and 708 on Sundays. And year-to-date, Access has provided nearly 153,000 rides. That's 5.5% above the original projections and 9% higher than October of 2022. And this slide also shows the 4-year comparison. Again, continue to head and trend in the upward direction. And Access OTP for this month was up to 89.6%. And finally, the KPIs, that passengers per hour came in at 2.05, or just under our KPI of 2.2, and cost per passenger was just about $52 or $3 under the KPI of $55. And the rest of the route-by-route KPIs are available in your packet. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we know, ostensibly, some Access riders in the 2 Metro Now zones may find value in Metro Now. Do we have any sense of if those rides are transitioning at all?
Good question.
Cost for Access is so high, and I'm curious.
Yes, so there is some of that, and we are currently working with the Access staff to market the Metro Now to Access riders as well.
Okay, cool.
So that's something that we're working on.
Cool. Do we have any way to? Is it just anecdotal? Do we have any way to actually track that? Because if they're calling in for an Access trip and they're using an app for Metro Now booking, can we layer those things together to see the totals? Or maybe not.
Yes.
It might not be worth it ultimately. I'd just be curious to know how much of that is happening over time.
So we're going to start with looking at the Access trips that start and end within a zone,
Yeah.
and then market to those people because they won't have to schedule the trip a day before.
Yeah.
And Metro Now is cheaper
Yep.
than Access. So we believe all of those that are using Access that travel within those 2 zones and eventually 6 zones
Yeah.
will transition over. But we also can compare the names of the customers that are using to the names of the customers on the app. So that is our next step to move as many of those, if they prefer to use Metro Now, over to Metro Now versus Access.
Awesome. Thanks.
So the narrative of new drivers addressing missed trips continues, and we are seeing a OTP turn as they're settling in. So that continues to be the data story that we want to see. And hopefully that OTP goes up and the missed trips continue to go down. Note they did go down with 1 extra day in the month, right? So even though it kind of leveled off a little bit, that still is downhill. We probably still need more staff, though, to push that down even further. It looks good, but it's still over 1,000, over 1,100. We need to get that down. And I think we're going to get there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have new staff coming in, new training class, or?
Yeah, we have about 30 in training right now. So we've got still a good number of folks, and we've got another group coming in next week, hires, probably 8 to 10 more.
Excellent. All right.
So, Adrian, a follow-up question to that. I know you've talked for a year and a half about the challenges in finding staff and
Yes.
Recruiting folks, and how it was seeming to turn a corner a little bit recently. Do you still see those same
Yes,
trends?
I do. So we have seen our recruiting fairs increase number of attendees come to interview and post for opportunities that we have within the organization. So we're seeing our average classes increase as well over the last probably 6 months or so. So we do see a trend changing for the positive, and we have continued reduction in our attrition, so that's helping us to retain and build our numbers to the about 517, 18 we're at right now, which is our highest number so far.
As my kids were looking at the numbers this morning, they did notice there was a one route that seemed to be an outlier. I don't know if we can go to one of the next slides. I'm joking, but keep going.
Keep going.
thought there was one more, maybe one more. There we go, 67. What is Route 67?
So the 67 is actually a newer route. We changed it. Used to be a one trip in the morning, one trip in the afternoon job connection route. We changed that to an all-day crosstown route. It generally serves the Kemper Road corridor. So it's a newer route that we're still trying to build the ridership on that. We do recognize the outlier there on the screen. We're actually making some tweaks to that for the December service change to try to improve that number.
Great. So you guys are on it.
We are.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Frontline employees. Continuous year, with the exception of updates to the fleet size and the addition of Metro Now service. So our agency plan is reviewed and updated annually, submitted for approval through the Joint Safety Committee, then to the Board of Trustees, and then to our accountable executive CEO prior to December 31st each year. So I'm seeking approval for our agency safety plan for 2024, if there are any questions.
This
Thank
is
you.
mostly out of curiosity.
Sure.
And it may be in here and I didn't see it. Who makes up the Joint Safety Committee?
The Joint Safety Committee is an equal number of hourly and salary employees. There are operators on there and maintenance employees as well. We've combined what was a separate security committee in the past. We've combined the two of those together. Has been done across the country in the industry, and we've made one big Joint Safety Committee. We have representatives from all three shifts and from both garages, access as well. Everyone's involved in this Joint Safety Committee.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and one of the things that we work on, we meet monthly and cooperate to identify hazards, review mitigation strategies, and make corrective actions. That's what that organization. That's what we do. Thank you.
Is there anything special to note about Metro Now and what we have to focus on safety-wise for that?
So the same type of, and we've taken the time, my team's taken the time to ride the Metro Now service. We've looked at some security issues on there. We've identified some things. So we're trying to, mitigate those hazards out of those vehicles, out of the design. And and that's what we do. As we move forward, we'll do better, as we do with the bus service as well. So yes, the Metro Now service will be reflected forthcoming in this plan. Yes.
So this is an action item. We approve it on to the full board. So we can entertain a motion unless there are more questions.
So moved.
Thank you very much, Pete. Second.
Second?
It's very important, so I want to make sure that there's plenty of space for the safety plan. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right, that moves on to the full board. I think that safety is really important. I would want to address it separately, not on the consent agenda, just so everybody on the full board is totally aware of that. Okay. And next we have 3 procurement items. Andy, you want to take us through those?
Sure, happy to. First, we have a enterprise backup system procurement. This is the system that basically stores our data, right? In case of emergency or need of retrieving historic data and to make sure we have system continuity, we go out and put out an RFP for these services. We received quite a bit of interest in this, and the proposed award is to Altafiber CBTS. It's a 5-year contract. The total of the 5-year spend is $380,000, and this is part of our annual operating budget. The next contract to be awarded is the bus stop maintenance. If you remember, this was a strategic push on part of the organization. We have We have historic and also very recent survey data from our customers. And one of the things that our customers are least satisfied with is the condition of our bus stops. I think it has increased in terms of the challenges have increased post-pandemic. And so this is a very targeted approach to make sure we maintain a high level of cleanliness and comfort at those bus stops. We have almost 4,000 stops throughout the area, throughout the county. It is a $3.2 million contract over 5 years, so about $600,000 a year in maintenance expense. And last is the fleet card program. This is purchased off of state contract. It's essentially identifying a relationship with a banking institution to provide credit cards for us to purchase gasoline, since we do not have on-site gasoline fueling at our facilities. This is a 5-year contract of $621,000. The dollar amount is the actual spend for the purchase of gasoline. The identification of U.S. Bank as our facilitator of the process and the card program was done through state contract, but the spend will be for the fuel. We don't actually pay fees directly to U.S. Bank. We pay the same amount at the gas station as if we were paying cash. It's U.S. Bank that is the card, the card processor and issuer for our fuel program. And they have all the features to make sure we're tracking use and when and employee IDs and all of those things. Happy to take any questions about any of these. You'll see our diversity spend increase as well from 7.9 last month, and that is due to procurements that did not reach the board threshold.
All right, let's work through these. I think there's things to talk about on most of them. I didn't have any questions for the backup system, though. Anybody on the board, any questions there?
What's the backup cycle?
All right. I don't know. I don't know the frequency of backup. It's at least daily, I'm sure. Yeah.
Daily.
Pat?
It depends. So, if everybody remembers, we did sorry. All of our systems are backed up based upon the business requirements. So we went through an extensive workshop of disaster recovery planning, so we understand how much data we can lose. So one system we might back up every 4 hours. Another system we might back up daily. So it really, it's a matrix of all of the different systems that we back up and maintain, and what the business risk is how much data we could lose or how quickly we would need to recover that information. So it's a very extensive mix of requirements.
Did learn last week that we can kind of vote on all of them at once, which is very exciting for me. So let's keep the discussion going on Christmas indeed. Bus stop maintenance. I did have questions here. It's a good amount of money, and I think that the vendor that we selected was higher in cost, but also had one of the best project plans, if I remember, and it seems like that project plan is really important. I think this is important for our riders. How do we know that they're getting this work done?
I'll turn that question to Jeff.
So our contract specialists in the facilities maintenance department will be reviewing their work on a regular basis, kind of patrolling the area and making sure they are getting done. We're also going to rely on some of our road supervisors as well to kind of report back on what the stops look like. And that's kind of how we determine the frequency of them as well. The top 100 stops are going to be touched basically weekly. And we got a lot of that data from ridership data and from road supervisors and bus drivers basically telling us, hey, this is what these stops look like. They need more attention.
So also John's group, operations group, the street supervisors, they're actually going to put a program together that at an interval that they check all of the shelters, all of the benches and whatnot to make sure that we're having a high quality for our customers. So they're going to put together a program that we will internally check And it'll be on the phone, or we'll have an app or something that once a week or once every other week, they'll put a program together that they'll check all of our infrastructure. It's, we talked about some of our infrastructure that we've ignored over the course of the last couple of decades. This is one. So this first year's contract may cost a little more because we really have to get the quality of our bus stops up, of our shelters up. And it's part of the program where we're adding the 200 new shelters, the 400 new benches, is to improve the infrastructure for our customers. But we'll also have a program internally where we'll be checking each of the stops to make sure the quality of those stops stay very high.
It could be anything from a single sign stop where it's weed whacking, making sure, it's a place you could stand and feel okay, to looking at a full sheltered stop, all the surroundings on that, making sure the facility or the infrastructure is good.
Just, yes.
Is it collecting trash, or is that
Yes.
that is external?
No, that's part of it. And essentially, like I said, what we did is the top 100 stops will get touched weekly. Any stop that's got an amenity, whether it be a shelter or a bench or both, those get touched every twice a month. And then every stop gets patrolled. Basically, they look at it once a month. And then from there, if they find other issues, whether it be broken glass or stuff that we need to take care of, they'll report that back to us, and then we'll handle that on that end.
Also, I'd like to remind the board that we've gotten an earmark to redo all 4,000 of our bus stops in the system, and there may be another earmark coming. The first earmark, I believe, was $4.3 million, and there may be another $1 million earmark coming. So we're actually going to redesign. We worked with UC DAP to redesign all of our bus stops. So coming in the very near future, you will see all of our bus stops throughout the entire region all changed. And there'll be lights on even some of the bus stop poles. There'll be lit places where, depending on how many boardings, but we're really going to improve the infrastructure for our customers.
If I may add just one more thing as well, to address your question directly. At the direction of Daryl, a month and a half ago, we engaged UC through the contract that we have with them to assess the current condition of the bus stops, so that we use it as a benchmark. And then next year, a year later, we'll do the same thing and see how things are moving. They're already working on this. They have one corridor done, and they're going to start working on the others. The plan is by end of February to have all 3,800 bus stops to be visited, documented. So that will be our benchmark. So that's something going on right now.
I agree with Andy, who indicated this is critical from a survey perspective, but it's the number one thing I hear from folks when I talk about this. And I know even hearing that it's challenging to get us to do that. So I'm hopeful that there will be a robust communications plan with sort of neighborhood-based groups and local governments, that they know that this is something we're doing, so that one, at a minimum, we get credit for it, but also that when there are problems, they know that we have a new plan of action to address them. I think that's a big thing, and that they know who to direct their concerns to if for some reason something's not meeting standard.
Yeah, I mean, it is really important, and that's why you have so many different partners working on this. As Daryl said, the operations, the supervisors will have their own app because they're running the streets every single day. So if they spot anything, they report that immediately. At the same time, UC DAP will be doing that every year again, just to to compare the progress of the vendors.
So a follow-up question to Pete's, the $4 million earmark, that's $1,000 a stop. So I know we're not going to spread it that thin, but if you could talk to me about the thinking of how we're going to prioritize, because we can't do it all, and understanding a little better around ridership, but how that will be done, and then what are the options other than lighting and some other things? Like, what are the primary goals? Like the top one or two things that we want to do.
Sure.
And how we're going to decide.
And before you answer that, I'm going to add to that. Is there a branding
Yes.
kind of that everything's going to look the same? Okay,
Yes.
right, that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, as you heard Daryl mention, that UC DAP is working on the redesign of the bus stops. It's going to be a fresh look of the signs, the information that's going to go on the sign, and we're almost done, with that design. And hopefully in the next few weeks, or maybe next month or so, we'll be able to share that with you. Then we're going to put out an RFP to really replace all the bus stops signs and poles that we currently have. So all 3,800 bus stops will have the same pole and signs. Obviously, some stops have, they're serving one route, others are serving 2 routes or 3 routes, so there are schemes for all of these different variations. But all 3,800 bus stops will have a new pole and signs and all that and new information. There'll be a select stops depending on the ridership, because some stops may serve only 5 passengers a day versus other stops that serve 200 passengers a day. So depending on the ridership per day, those stops will also receive what we're calling e-paper information. So these are boxes about this tall, this wide, electronic, and they'll have, through one. May be important to the like to do that for all.
Kind of going.
Community and there's a lot of folks who don't use the service a ton, but I want them to think like, I'm glad that bus stop is in my neighborhood and I'm glad it looks great in my neighborhood.
Yes.
I might encourage, I'm going back 3 years or so and thinking about Cam Hardy and the Better Bus Coalition and so forth. So in addition to Pete's comment about communicating now, I think Brandy and her team might get in front of it to talk to those type of groups and say, what are the things that you would want to see? Just maybe you've done it, maybe you haven't, so that they feel heard, heard a lot about that.
So just to respond to that comment, it's a great point. We do have our steer committee, and our steer committee is our ridership advocacy group. And these are the types of things that we talk about at committee, and they've had a chance to review in detail the designs, I believe. So we're getting feedback from those rider advocates prior to finalizing design.
Where's Cam in all of this conversation?
On staff.
I understand that, but he's.
So the other thing.
I support the point.
Yes.
Make sure Cam's included, right? Yeah.
The other thing that we're doing that we're real proud of, the shelters that we just put up in the West End, they actually have the community's input. And when you see those shelters, I think we brought them to the board last month, they represent the community. So the pictures on the shelter, represent the community. So we're also planning on getting the communities involved in the shelters that we're putting up to make sure they're part of the community. And as Pete was talking, then the community has finds value in the shelters. It represents what the community looks like, and that maybe even some people will adopt some of the shelters to help us make sure those shelters stay clean, well lit, really important part of the community. And lighting, of course, brings safety into those communities where people wait for the buses as well.
This is a divergence from this conversation, so if others want to comment on this, I'll wait. But I just have a question about downtown stops in particular. So before
I have some questions.
Yeah, all right, I'll wait.
So first of all, I'm glad that we are improving, the stops and really focusing and spending the money on doing this. I would like to hear a little bit more about the exact scope of work that the contractor will have. You mentioned the trash collection. Will they be, like, for lack of a better word, Windexing the the panels, like getting gum off the seats? Like, what is involved in cleaning?
Yeah, basically everything you just said. There's going to be vegetation control done on an annual basis or biannually, twice a year, and then as needed, if a limb or something comes in front of a bus stop or that kind of thing. Graffiti removal, gum removal, everything you just said there, and then, like I said, any kind of damage or broken glass, that'll get reported back to us, which we can handle outside of the contract with whatever vendor would be required.
Okay. And then on the benchmarking, I understand that DAP will be kind of reviewing, the status of the stops. What is the plan to survey, again, users, and how are we going to get that information to the riders?
Yeah, so the initial survey is going on right now. They should be done with it by end of February, and then a year later we'll do another one. Now, at the meantime, the operation staff, supervisors, they will still, they'll report periodically if they see something. They'll, report that.
And then as part of this process, are we going to get rid of outdated signs that are around the community that don't exist?
That's the whole plan.
Yeah.
Every sign will be replaced.
Okay. So the ones that where there is no bus route anymore, those will go away. Okay.
Include the extra service signs?
Yeah.
That's not what you...
I don't know about those. I just know of some in my neighborhood that there is no bus that goes there anymore. Okay. Thank you.
That would be a separate project that we'll bring to you, hopefully, in the next few months.
Okay. Thank you.
One more follow-up. So I agree with, what Sarah was saying and addressing. I understand the branding, the lighting, the safety improvements. How much are you anticipating like actual physical construction of shelters, benches, things like that?
How much? I'm sorry?
So physical construction.
Yeah, the balance between what you've talked about, and maybe I've just missed it.
Well, there's a convergence of a lot of different projects overlapping here, if you can
Yes.
kind of tell, right? And what we're considering here in terms of this procurement is just the routine maintenance, right? The sign project and improving the branding and the signs and the information and all that is another project. And then there's also the benches and the shelters, right? And we have money, that federal dollars that have been awarded to us to improve benches and shelters throughout the region as well. We're going through FTA's environmental process, NEPA, to clear all the requirements, both for the federal level and at the city and the county level, to actually place new shelters where the demand warrants. And that's, Haled can talk a little bit more about that, but that's in process as well.
Yeah,
Let me
it is,
jump in real quick, because I think there's a lot of history here that we need to keep in mind. So 6 years ago, we were talking about people dropping concrete wooden benches. We couldn't stop them. They were broken. We were being criticized for it. And that was like a big part of the discussion. It's still a concern, of course. But we've gone through a project where we analyzed all our stops and streamlined it, reduced a little bit, but made sure we had the stops in the right places. Now we're doing our own benches that are great. New shelters, potentially lighting, new signs, landscaping. It's just transformational in the space of 5 years. It's really quite I'm getting all tingly. It's like Christmas morning for what we're doing for the city. So it's really good, really good. Yeah, every day. Anyway, Haled, you wanted to say something about all the projects coming together?
I think everybody said what needs to be said, but yeah, it's all happening. The shelters and benches, that's an ongoing project. We update you periodically on that. So yeah, I think we're making progress, great progress.
Haled,
Yes.
Blake gave us an opening to talk about concrete benches. What do you foresee happening with the concrete benches over the next 12 months?
That is a question for the city of Cincinnati, not for us. We don't have the right or ability to go remove the concrete benches, only the city does. And from the last conversation I had with the city, there is still in litigation with the company that dropped all of those and continues to drop those concrete benches.
Yeah, the litigation that we've heard, 5 years now, we've talked about, not here in these chairs, but over at City Hall, we've talked about that litigation for 5 years plus, haven't we? And that's really one of the biggest biggest challenges here, right? Here we're putting all this money in and all these upgrades, and we still have these concrete benches that we have to litigate our way through and then go pick them all up. How many do you think remain?
No idea.
Okay. That's all right. Sorry. He gave me the opening. He mentioned concrete benches.
And the work has to continue on that and making sure all the work is taken care of and that we have good systems in place to ensure that the vendors are doing the right things. But we're definitely headed in the right direction, in my opinion. All right, we do have one other item. Okay, and it is for the fleet card program. Some of my questions I think have already been addressed when I looked at it, and it seemed like it was maybe only for the cards. I thought that was not a good deal. But we are getting a gasoline fuel tank. Is that going to change the out years on this once that's in place, or not really connected different parts of the service?
So the authority here is just the authority to purchase gasoline. We would not, if and when a fuel tank, gasoline tank were to, once it's up and operational at Access, this spend on an annual basis might decrease. This just gives us the authority not to exceed that number in terms of spend on gas. That expense would come from somewhere else.
Right, and that project, the Access gasoline tank, we just had kickoff meetings. That's not slated to get completed until October of next year. We kind of built in our current state in this contract. In the event that something happens, construction gets pushed out, we built it so that we have a source for fuel for the next 5 years. But right, when the gasoline tank gets put into place there, we'll change how we purchase fuel, just like we do with the diesel, and this will kind of start to dwindle down. We'll still use it. 90% of our vehicles will get fueled at Access, but there's still that 10% that going on a trip, that kind of thing, that you're going to need to fuel that vehicle outside of town. And that's what this contract will help take care of.
Great.
Sorry, can I jump back to ask my wife? It was a self-contained question on the maintenance. Are we coordinating with 3CDC on the downtown stops in particular? Who's got responsibility for maintenance of downtown stops when we have the downtown ambassadors and cleanup program? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But okay, so we do contract with them to do those ones, and
Yes.
so this contract that we're approving
Yes.
will be okay. Cool, thanks. Sorry.
Good question.
So the plan is not to get anywhere near this number over the 5 years. But this is what would happen if we did not get a tank and continued the service.
Correct. This was built, like I said, off of our current state in the event that never happens.
Great. I was expecting to hear that tank was installed already.
Not quite. So the project that we brought to the board I think it was last month, it's about a $3 million project. And it's not just for the fuel island. That's where it started. And it was right around $250,000 is what we originally budgeted for it. But as we Metro now and we started to look at the whole facility at Access and what we could do to utilize the entire property, it expanded into what it is. But right around $250,000-300,000 is what a fuel tank, a 10,000 gallon tank, and a dispense system would be. That's the entire facility. Basically, like I said, we started with fuel tank at that property, and as Metro now grew, we looked at expanding the property for bus storage, canopy, that kind of thing.
For all the Metro Now vehicles.
I was just trying to understand the end number.
How we got to that, yeah.
Not even that, but like, does it make sense to do this?
Yeah.
Versus having, But then when he said that 90% of the vehicles are covered starting next year, I was like, it doesn't matter. But I was just curious.
Sure.
Yeah, as you guys will remember, we're moving from diesel vehicles to gasoline vehicles. So there are a lot more vehicles. It's not just our non-revenue vehicles. It'll be Access vehicles. It'll be all of the Metro Now vehicles. You know, we've got 2 zones running now. By the end of next year, we should have 6 zones of Metro Now vehicles. There'll be a lot of fueling. So it won't just be one bay. There'll be a lot of fueling at Access for gasoline.
And we'll have another report on gasoline fuel hedging to go through. So look forward to that.
Easter at your house, Blake?
And maybe electricity or hydrogen. We'll see. All right. I think we've gone through all the items. Any other questions? If not, I move that we approve these on the consent agenda to the full board, unless anyone thinks otherwise. Could I get a second? Probably moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right, good conversation today.
From a board meeting perspective, we have obviously in finance approved the OTRP. Will that show up on the overall board procurement matrix so we can see all the things we're doing, or will it show up separately? I know it's two. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions or new business?
Yeah, on the new business side, I would love for staff to engage the team at Red Bike in a conversation about what strategic partnerships might look like. I know that there's been some level of conversation. I've had some conversations with them over the years. The business model for bike share is changing across the country, and a lot more agencies are looking at partnerships with transit agencies. And so I'd like us to be proactive on that to figure out what a partnership might look like. If you need a couple of us to join those conversations, I think I could volunteer it, and a number of us, but I think that would be a helpful conversation to bring back to the organization.
Thank you. I always love it when there's new business. Awesome. So I don't know, it's Halloween. So surprises. All right, I think we're adjourned. Have a great day, everybody. See you next week at the